Hey everyone, it's Kayla Coleman, the Chief Operating Officer at the Tyler Miller team, and I'm here with our first Agent Spotlight of 2024. I have the fabulous Annessa Fackelman with me.
Hi.
One day, I literally say every time I'll use the applause button someday, but I just don't.
Is it like right there?
I don't know which one it is,
Okay.
but I'll figure it out someday.
Right,
so I just clap for myself. Yay!
Thank you.
How's your day going?
It's going good.
Yeah?
Going good. Yeah.
Nothing crazy?
No. Finalizing paperwork and whatnot for a couple deals, but
Because you're busy.
yeah.
And on fire.
Yeah.
So as people know, they saw in my post the other day, you've kind of had a busy 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So you've had 34 appointments,
About that, yeah.
3 accepted offers, but now 4.
Now 4.
And then,
accepted,
because when we asked you these questions, it was before you put your listing up, which was your other one. So
Yep.
we're going to talk through each of those, kind of see what you're doing and what's working for you and why you're doing them. So 34 appointments.
Yes.
That's a lot.
It is.
It's like 1 a day at least.
Yep.
And there's some days that, you do 2 or 3 in a day because you
Right.
don't.
Yeah. A lot of showing.
You work 7 days a week, but you don't.
Yeah.
Whatever. But so what are you doing? What's the reason behind some of these meetings? What's going on?
So I've had a few buyers meetings, which is always great to help buyers and help educate them on, the steps of buying a home.
Yeah.
I've had listing appointments. I've had a good handful of showings. A lot of those are showings. Being the end of December, you don't typically have buyers or a ton, but I happened to have one that was wanting a new build, so there was a lot of, going to see different builders and looking at the features and their builds and whatnot to kind of narrow down the different developments as well. So there was a lot of that involved with my one client, and then I had another client that had originally almost put the brakes on until March.
No.
And then I was like, okay, well, it's kind of a neat little story.
Yeah.
I met them from Zillow.
Okay.
And we had been showing houses, and she fell in love with one.
Okay.
And then we were going to write an offer, and she got cold feet. And just couldn't.
That's when you have like the oh shit moment though. Like it's like the
100%.
this is real.
Yep.
This is gonna happen.
Yep. You got to go through it.
Yeah.
Right? And it was just the payment was just going to be a tish out of her comfort zone, but not. I think as a new, first time home buyer coming out of an apartment, she's like, hey, I want my payment to be what my apartment payment is, and which is fine. They were paying quite a bit for their apartment,
Right.
but at the same time, we're talking $30 a month, and it's an investment.
Right.
It's going to you. So we had to have those conversations about like looking at the big picture.
Yep.
And she was in very much so like that 200 to 250 range. This house for the price and the time of year, she's not going to get it.
Is this Haley?
It is Haley.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
and it's just like go out to dinner 1 less time a month.
Right.
Don't get Starbucks 3 times now at this rate.
Right. And I don't even know that it necessarily was that she couldn't, because she's the only one on the loan, but it's her and her boyfriend kind of buying the house together.
Yeah.
And so his income wasn't even
factored
into it. So I think a lot of it was just kind of that mindset of like, hey, this is what we're paying for rent. We don't want to go over.
Yeah.
Opposed to like really looking at it like, okay, can you make it work for investing in your future and, your financial long game,
right?
Opposed to being in an apartment. And, we had that conversation, and, like I said, she didn't end up writing, and they did have one other offer. And I think part of it was the competing and not wanting to go over ask and things like that, So I'm like, okay, I'm not here to force anybody into a home.
Yep.
And if she's not ready,
yep,
and this is her cold feet moment, then this is her cold feet moment. Like,
yep.
Totally get it. The right one will come along. Right.
Yeah.
But I did tell her when she did say, hey, we're going to wait till March. I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask that, can I please educate you on what the market could look like in March?
Yeah.
I said, I'm not here to force you into anything, but I said I wouldn't be doing my due diligence as your realtor if I just said, okay, and then waited until March, because you're money cautious already.
Yep.
That if you wait till March and they're getting bonuses, right?
Yep.
So I'm like, can we sit down? And she absolutely was okay with it.
That's great.
So we sat down, we did a Zoom, went over the differences, and I said, you could now get into a home for less.
Yeah.
And I said, your bonus money, you could, let's just say you don't particularly like the kitchen 100%.
Right.
Right? Use your bonus money and remodel your kitchen.
Right.
Then you're building, not only that, you're getting the house at a lower price point, right? Your interest rate might be a little bit more than what it could possibly be depending on what interest rates do in March. But then you remodel the kitchen with that money, and then you have instant equity just from that, and then you can refinance down the road and make your interest. Like, that's like the perfect pretty picture. Right. So I explained all that to her, and she was just like, okay. And then,
Did you write on that house that you initially?
No,
it was a different
one. It was already done.
Okay, yeah.
We didn't write on any house.
Yep.
But it was like right after she decided she wasn't going to write on that one, she said that she was going to wait until March.
Okay.
So she could use that money, thinking if I put that money down, it's going to make my house payment go down. But it's like, but no, because then you're competing in order to get in one. In March, interest rates are going to be down a little bit. The buyers are going to be going crazy. You're going to have to go over ask.
Yeah.
And then that money, your payment's going to be the same.
Yeah.
So we had to have that.
It's like that video we filmed with Max when you were sitting in the back of my truck.
Oh, yes.
Where it's, the rates are 6 or 7%, and one person's running along and they drop 0.5%, and 3 more people come in, and then 10 more people, and it's just people sometimes need the visual of it versus just saying, no, there's gonna be a lot of people coming.
Yeah. So what was cool is that she had been sick when we did the Zoom and whatever, and it was I want to say December 28th.
Okay.
I think it was a Saturday right after Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
And we were going to go look at a bunch of houses. So we were ready to go do that. And I was literally setting them all up in the MLS. And I get a text message from the house that she didn't write on. From the agent saying, hey, financing fell through. I know that your client almost wrote. Are they still interested? And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes. So I text Haley right away. I'm like, Haley, I said, do you want me to add it to our showing list? And she's just like, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. So we went there first.
Yeah.
And I strategically did it that way because I felt like, let's go see the one you missed.
Yep.
And then after that,
compare all the other ones to it.
If those other ones don't compare,
yeah,
that'll help, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's all after the fact. It's like, no, I'm still in love with that one. No. So we did that. And in the end, she still liked that one. And we ended up writing on it and got the deal done.
Yay.
And we're closing on Monday.
Yay. Well, that was fast.
It was. Well, because she, for the most part, was pretty much underwritten by the time.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest things that the seller wanted, was to be able to close by the end of January.
Okay.
So, we were able to, make a deal come together before they even went back on the market.
Right.
Yep. So it was like, I'm like, we have to make a decision, otherwise it goes on the market, and then we could potentially, if you do decide to write on it, then we're competing.
Like, they're giving us the little bit of a chance.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we were able to put something together, and I'm super excited
That's so good.
And this is where I love what I do.
Totally.
I love the fact that I am helping somebody that and again, I'm not here to push somebody in a house. If they can't afford it, I have a history with that.
Yeah.
I have a foreclosure in my past.
Yeah.
I was I don't want to say victim, but I was one of the people that didn't belong getting financing in 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
And ended up getting foreclosed because we shouldn't have gotten the loan.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I don't want that in anybody's history.
Right.
But when I see a young couple that has the financial means and the desire, and I can help educate them and get them to where they're closing on Monday, and they can actually, use that bonus money to do little things in the house that they want. And then not only that, even if they don't have to. The house is turnkey. They don't have to do anything, but now they have a nest egg with that. And that makes me feel so good. And I try not to be mommy, like as a mom, but like but I am a mom, and I do have kids.
And there are some of those people that don't have those great family situations. Yeah. So being able to like confide in someone like you is something that's huge, you know?
So, yeah, I was just super excited.
And it always sounds like so salesy when we say like, we're not here to like get a deal or whatever, but we truly know like this is the time to do it. And like, I know it always sounds like that. That's like the catchphrase that we start with, like, this is the time to do it. But it's like, based on the factors that could be coming, this is the time to do it.
Right.
Like, based on your factors, this is, and it might not be those factors for every single person every single time.
Right.
But, yeah, it's hard.
But it's definitely a feel good when you can,
totally,
you know, do something like that and educate. And that's why I'm here. Like, I look back, too, and when my husband and I were together before we were living in an apartment, and Shelby was a baby, and we wanted to own a home. You know, we wanted to get out of the apartment, and we didn't necessarily want to rent.
Yeah.
And so we inquired about a loan, and he did more of that at that time. I don't think we were working with a realtor.
Okay.
I really don't. I think we just went straight to a mortgage person to see what we could qualify for.
Right.
And I forget exactly what it was, but I want to say it was around 125,000. Yeah. Okay.
Must be nice.
But that's in 97.
Yeah.
Right? In 1997. So, but at the time, and it might not have been that much, but either way, it would have gotten us like a little house in Blaine, little like square, would have been fine, right?
Yeah. Everything, all you needed.
It would have been the biggest downfall for us was that there was only like 2 bedrooms on the main level.
Yep.
Which was fine for Shelby, but we wanted to grow our family, and we had 2 other children that lived in Florida. You know, his older 2 children lived in Florida, so when they came, you know, it didn't have a finished basement, and like how are we going to make that work, right? And so we kind of went to a mobile home. We ended up buying a mobile home. Yeah. So it was a 3-bedroom mobile home, all in one level. So Shelby had a room, and then
when the other kids came, they had a room.
Shayna and Shelby could do their thing. You know, we just had room, and then we still had a little bit of land. They could go outside and play, and it wasn't an apartment. But I regret that decision because I didn't own the land. Yeah. And a mobile home. And again, I'm not docking anyone that lives in one, but it didn't grow wealth. Whereas I think that if we would have bought in that house and like finished the basement or did something to make it work, right? In the end, we would have been able to walk away with equity and get into something. Whereas we were trapped. We were in it for 10 years. Yeah. There was a couple years there was 7 of us living in that home. Oofed. And if we sold the mobile home, we would have been paying in because it wasn't worth what we owed. Yeah. And we didn't have equity to go to, then where do we go? Because we don't have that equity. And so I look at like, I wish we would have had a realtor. I wish we would have had somebody helping guide us. Like, but wait, like this is what you can get. We just had a mindset of like, that's not going to get us anything. Yeah. Right. Yep. Because I had, you know, parents that had a really nice home and it was more expensive. Like we just had that mindset of like, it's not going to really get us anything. And so I just look at my house history and if I can help somebody prevent that. Yeah.
It's like if you would have known then what you know now kind of deal. 100%. And I feel like even realtors maybe back then weren't as creative as we are now. Right. You know? Yeah.
Well, and they probably didn't have to be as creative, but I also know, like I said, I'm 99.9% sure we did not have a realtor. Yeah. It was just the mortgage person that told us what we qualify for, and we're like, well, hey, we can actually get land in an extra bedroom, and overall monthly payment was less, right? Yeah. Like at the time too, so we kind of, I don't want to say fall victim because it wasn't a victim type thing, but like
you just trusted them.
Yeah. And we took we didn't go to the proper channels to get the education. And my dad has always been like, buy land, but I was never explained why. Right. You know, like he invested in commercial buildings and he bought land, like we grew up on 15 acres in Ham Lake, and he now has 20 acres in Forest Lake. But like at the time it was like, well, I can't afford 15 acres, so let's just do this. Yeah. Right? Yep. And it's such a limited how do they call
limited
it?
mindset.
Mindset. Yeah. You know, and so you know, but you live and learn, and I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for that. I think it does make me a better realtor because I'm not about the transaction. I'm not about saying, oh, okay, I'm going to add another one to my belt. I'm about helping people.
Yeah.
And, I look at Haley and her boyfriend, Zach, and I love the future that they possibly could have getting into that house.
Yeah. Where is it?
It is in St. Paul.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I feel so out of the loop nowadays. Like, you're like, oh, yeah, we're closing this week. I'm like, no idea. No idea. But that's okay. So you've had some cool buyer showings, some cool informational appointments. What other kind of appointments have you?
I have this last 30 days, not a lot of them have been business partners.
Yeah.
But I do like to have business partners meetings and, partner with different lenders. And Christy Piatz, although she's more on the team side of things on the lending thing, but I absolutely love her.
She's one of those ones you can send a deal to and it's going to get taken care of.
Oh, 100%.
And not shaming other loan officers, but sometimes they have their ebbs and flows where they disappear and you're like, hey, what's going on? And with Christy, I feel like we have a really good relationship because we're working the deals, but also she's working the deals. And so it's like we're almost double hitting leads, which some people might hate, but I feel like we close way more of them because they're getting touched so much.
Yep. Yeah.
So, she's great.
Yeah. And I've had a couple, I met a girlfriend for lunch, just keeping top of mind.
Yeah.
And just also not even about keeping top of mind. It's just about I can isolate myself so much, being older, my kids are older, I'm single, and so sometimes it's almost like I forget that I can go have fun.
Yeah.
And that I can have lunch with a girlfriend in the middle of the day and absolutely enjoy touching base with her again.
Right.
And, things like that. So yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Cool. And then you had 3 accepted offers.
I did.
So one of those is Haley's, obviously. The other one, I can't remember the other 2. I know you have one that you're helping someone buy, sell.
So I just closed, today, later this afternoon, the Princeton land.
Your land. That was the other one that was in there.
Princeton land closes. And they are my cousin's aunt and uncle on his mom's side. So he's my cousin from my mom's side.
Yep.
Which is... Anyway, it's a cousin of mine. So anyway, I was at a graduation party for one of my cousin's kids and ended up meeting them, and we talked real estate, and they had land in Princeton that they decided that they wanted to sell. They originally were going to build on it.
Okay.
But then they decided that they want a lake home. So now my goal is to,
I have been
trying to find, I'll send them lots,
They want to build, or they're okay getting
okay
something
with
existing?
They're okay with something existing. Jordan had that one lake home at one point. The house was too big. Everything else was perfect, but they kind of want to downsize.
Yeah.
They want to retire and they don't want 5 bedrooms. And as much as it's great, but at the same time, you have 5 bedrooms and everybody does come see you every single weekend, I'm sure. But they're just we only need 2 bedrooms. I'm like, okay. But yeah, so I keep looking and sending them stuff, and they keep looking, and
but that's important too, because it's okay, graduation party. You're like, okay, I like to go see family, but there's probably a lot of other things you'd want to do on a Saturday in June or July, maybe not.
Yeah.
But going to those things is so important.
Yeah.
Going to those, going to weddings, whatever.
It can be a business strategy.
Yeah.
To absolutely get yourself
weddings,
in front of people,
stuff like that.
Yeah. I generally don't go unless I want to go.
Yeah.
I just can't be like, hey, I'm gonna go to this thing so that I could maybe talk to. I get it. It's just.
And it's not like you go with that in your forefront, but it just naturally comes up. Because, you're the realtor in the room. How's the market?
Yeah, Right, exactly.
But, okay. And then your other one, you're helping buy, sell.
Yep. Yeah. So I got Haley and then the Princeton land, and then Jason and Ellen. They are the ones who wanted new construction.
Okay.
So we're under contract with the D.R. Horton over in the preserves. On Lexington.
Okay, yep.
With D.R. Horton. And then just got under contract. They had to sell their townhome. So we had to strategically plan everything.
Yep.
And they were amazing. I told them, I joked, I said, I could do a TikTok saying you guys understood the assignment.
Yeah.
Because we went through their whole house, and I gave them tips and whatnot on how to stage their house, what furniture to move.
Yep.
They definitely outgrew that townhome.
Yeah.
So they had too much furniture, too much, taking 2 households and combining them into one when they, got together. I think it was like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And they got married and whatnot. They remove furniture, they move stuff, they clean. I mean, they're very clean anyway. So it wasn't like, the cleaning part of it was.
But it's just getting all this stuff off the counters.
Yeah. And they just were lickety-split. They were motivated.
Right.
They got it done. We got the photographers in there, got it listed.
And sold the first weekend.
Accepted offer, yeah.
Did you get multiples on that one?
We did-ish.
Okay.
Kind of. We got an offer, and then they ended up pulling it. I think they got cold feet.
Okay.
It sounds like she was an out-of-state buyer who didn't see it herself.
Yeah.
The family went and looked at it.
That's hard.
Yeah. And then, we got another offer on Saturday. So we went on the market Thursday and had an accepted offer by Saturday night.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's your listing then that you had.
That's my listing.
Yeah.
So those are the 4.
So what's coming the next 30 days?
So I do have a few buyers that are ready to go.
Okay.
One is actually out of country right now. He comes back today.
Wow.
He got pre-approved before going out, but for part of his religious, I want to say, obligation.
Oh, I feel like I remember this.
He had to go out of country. So he's been out of country, and it's so cute because he sends me pictures from when he was there. And I was like, hey, will you give your wife my number? Because if she needs anything, I'm here. She's pregnant, and they have, I want to say she's like 3. So, hey, if you need anything, just let her know. I mean, I'll run to a store, I'll, whatnot. But
especially when those storms come in here, you never know what it's going to be like.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I've been working with him since shortly after I got licensed.
Wow.
But, where he was working, he wasn't making enough. And then she was going to school. So it's just kind of been this progressive, here's your goal.
Yeah.
This is where you want to be. And kind of working between myself and a lender.
Yep.
Kind of these are steps you need to take. And she wasn't a United States citizen at the time or had just become one. So she didn't have a credit score at all.
Yeah.
So then there's hey, so we've been working together for quite some time and helping them get to where they need to be. And now they're pre-approved, and they'll, I'm hoping we can find something before
the next week or 2.
Yeah. I'm really hoping that we can find something fairly quickly for them.
Yeah.
Before the mad craziness.
What's their price point?
It's probably around the 230, 250-ish.
Where are
and
they
would
looking?
like a townhome, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, they would like a townhome. So, but some of them, his price point was lower.
Right.
But then he got a new job and he started a business.
Yep.
Since then. So
that's
helping, So yeah, I'm super excited. Super excited for him. And, and one of the last times him and I met at a showing, because, every once in a while I'll be like, hey, I want to see this house. And I don't worry 100% that he's 100% approved, just because I know he is working on the goal. Mm-hmm. And if there is an opportunity out there to where if he saw it and it was great,
he would do what he needed to do.
There might be a jump time,
yeah.
right? But he was, he kind of gave me some feedback, and he just said, I know that you care. Mm-hmm. And that's just so good,
rewarding
to hear that someone knows that I care.
Yeah.
Because I do.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Well, who else are you working with right now? Anybody else special?
I have another couple that I just recently met from Zillow as well.
Cool.
One lives out of state. They live in Tennessee. She's a traveling nurse from Minnesota, and they want to hang their hat. They just recently got married, so they want to live in Minnesota close to her family.
Yeah.
So they're getting pre-approved right now, and they're going to be ready to go. They're going to keep their house in
Tennessee,
I believe, and have it as a rental, as
that's
investment
smart.
property.
Are they close to Nashville, or?
I have not.
No idea.
No clue. Didn't ask that because I don't know Tennessee enough to they could have thrown a city at me, and I'm not going to have a clue.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
You didn't ask.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to start calling you the Queen of Zillow by the end of the year.
Queen of Zillow.
It sounds like.
I love Zillow.
Yeah.
I love Zillow. I really do. I I can say, I mean, I love doing my own sphere.
Totally.
You know, last year, 2023, I did more sphere than I did Zillow, but I find that I can connect to Zillow leads super easy. I don't know if it's because I have
a past with some of those.
I don't know.
I think it's easier working with people you don't know versus people you do know.
Yeah. Yes and no. I'll say yes and no. There's a little less personal dynamic in there.
You think?
Know, like,
yeah.
You know,
and like your sphere, like you probably have more contact with them after closing than like a Zillow deal.
Right. Yeah.
Because like you see them in family functions and whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I just, I want to say it was in October they got married. So I went to one of my clients that I met at Zillow, went to their wedding.
Really?
October. They invited me to their wedding.
Oh.
It was just adorable.
Where was it?
It was in Wisconsin, so it was almost an hour away. I didn't care. I'm
cute.
like, I'm going. Yep.
Oh, I got goosies.
Yeah,
that's so cute.
Yeah, it's very cool. I love my clients. I just become friends with them, and you know, I did some pop buys at Thanksgiving.
Yep.
I did not get to everyone. I was so sad.
Next year,
but my car broke down.
Yeah, I know. You've been having such bad
I'm like,
luck.
Okay, well, I guess I'll save them for next year. I don't know.
It's okay. You can save them for next year.
I wasn't going to deliver, you know, ceramic pumpkins with Thanksgiving like 2 weeks into Christmas because I finally got my car back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, but yeah, no. Yeah. It's about connecting and making relationships and building and doing all that. I love it.
I love it. Okay. I'm going to take a little pause from business.
Okay.
We're going to do a little game.
Okay.
Okay, so a fun fact, you used to run an in-home daycare.
Oh, gosh, yes, I did.
So alphabet stuff is probably a pretty big thing that you dealt with.
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure you did, right?
A, B, C.
Okay. So we're going to do like a word association.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a letter. And you just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. I just like to break it up, do something fun.
Yeah, no.
We'll start with F.
Beep.
What? What? I know you're thinking of stuff. You're just trying to come up with the right thing to say.
No, you're not catching it. But that's okay.
No, I'm not.
It's okay. F.
Oh.
It was the first thing that came to mind.
When you said beep like that, it was like the please leave a message after the tone.
Oh.
Beep.
I suppose I should have said bleep.
Yeah, bleep.
Bleep, not beep.
Okay.
Bleep.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's the second
fruit.
It's the second most used word in my vocabulary.
Okay, well then there you go.
Okay, A.
I wanted to say it
Asshole?
Annessa, but no, I mean like that's lame. A, apple.
That's a very daycare provider thing to say.
Yeah, you put the daycare thing in my head.
Well, okay, well, I was going to do A first, and then I was like, if I do A first, she's going to say apple automatically, so I can't start with A.
Okay.
So that's why I didn't. Okay, E.
Elephant.
That's a good one. I like that one. N.
Narcissist.
Whoa. Wow. We went from apple and elephant to narcissist. All right. We're doing great. Last one.
Love this game.
Last one. Now I know what you're going to say to this one, I'm sure. S. Shit.
No. Oh. Silly putty. Wasn't the first thing that came to my mind.
Do they still make that? The ones that come in like the little football thing with the pink?
Yes, they do. They do. You can get them at Walgreens, or you used to be able to get them at Walgreens. Of course I'm going to know what they have at Walgreens.
Okay, those are like the letters of your name. And so that's why when you said A, and then I was like, oh, Annessa. I mean, I didn't do your full last name, but I was like, I didn't want to just do 4. So I was like,
you're good.
Okay, that's fine.
You're good. So the other, I got to tell you a Walgreens story.
Yeah.
Because Alex still works for Walgreens, right?
Yeah.
And it was after Christmas. And I was at the Ulysses store.
Okay.
And they had a lot of clearance stuff.
Okay.
And like all the clearance stuff, or, after Christmas stuff, whatever goes on discount. So Ulysses had a take for every single item. So it was very, very clear on what they all. So I had sent my son a text. I said, hey, you got any good after Christmas deals going on?
Yep.
So he takes pictures of every single section. And I go, where's your clearance signs? Where's your signs? Because it wasn't signed. And he's like, he says something. And I'm like, he sends me a picture that says 50% off candy. And I go, that's off the candy. What about
everything else?
Everything else, like the giftables and stuff.
The stockings.
And I go, because those are also 50% off. He goes, how do you know that? I go, because I was just at the Ulysses store and they have it signed correctly and you should have signs on every single one. He goes, quit worrying about Walgreens. I'm just like, well, you're sitting on so much clearance, Alex, that you could sell if you just sign it correctly and I'm just like, it's the manager in me. Yeah. It's like, but I get it. But
is he the manager?
He's not the store manager.
Oh.
He's a
shift lead.
He's a shift lead.
Well, then.
No, I'm not saying it's his fault, but he's a shift lead. Like, so he can delegate that and get it fixed. And I said, that 50% says off the candy.
Right.
They're not going to know.
Just cross out the candy.
Like, yeah, even if you put one sign, 50% off. Big one. It's just funny. I tease. I say you can take the girl out of Walgreens, but you can't take Walgreens out of the girl.
Yep.
I worked there for way too long.
Yeah.
It was like part of my family. My kid. Well, two of my kids worked at Walgreens.
Yeah.
Because that was so much of their upbringing was Walgreens.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I can only imagine. My sister, she does merchandising at Costco now. She used to be in the bakery, but she does merchandising, so she manages like the front snack area.
Okay.
So like people will like fix stuff throughout the day, but then she comes in at like, they just switched it. They don't want anyone in there overnight anymore, so she can come in at like 3, I think is what it is, 3 in the morning. And so she'll be like, why is it so hard? Like, literally, follow the pattern from the bottom of the pallet up. Like, why are you facing these boxes this way? And so I can just imagine her, like, going into another store and wanting to, like, fix it. Because it's just, like, it's not rocket science.
Right. I call stuff out all the time. Or I'll be standing in line at the pharmacy and I'm straightening the shelves and my kids are just like, Mom, stop. And I'm just like,
have everything faced and pushed to the front and or it's like the people that don't do like the first in last out stuff. Like I get on those like things on TikTok where people like refill their sugar container and they like don't dump out what's left. Like, and it's gonna get like probably mixed up a little bit anyways, but like I'm the kind of person, I don't put new sugar in my container until it's completely empty. Right. Because then you wash it.
Right.
And then you... Whatever. Okay, well, you segued into Walgreens perfectly. So before becoming a real estate agent, you were a manager of Walgreens. What made you make the jump?
Oh.
There's a lot.
There is a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. I still love Walgreens.
Yeah.
I feel that if COVID wouldn't have happened, I'd probably still be with Walgreens.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
But there's, lack of staffing. And I made the decision.
There's lack of staffing everywhere right now. So I feel for those managers because it's, if the employees aren't showing up or if they can't get people to even apply, they're the ones footing those shifts a lot of the time.
Yep. Yeah. And I shouldn't say I shouldn't have, but I took a promotion to another store, which was busier.
Okay.
Knowing that I was going to have an assistant store manager because the one I was at, I didn't, so then I'm like, okay, I'm going to be at this one. I'm going to have an assistant store manager. And then within a week, they announced that they're revamping everything in my store. Got pulled. The assistant store manager got pulled. So I was not very happy with that.
No.
And then just, the whole staffing. And I started working like 80-hour weeks. And as much as there was one time, a period that it was just me and one other shift lead.
Yeah.
That one other shift lead didn't want 40 hours.
Yeah.
And as much as other managers are like, well, you need to make him. It's like, well, if I make him, then I'm not going to have him.
Right.
Like, that No.
Right.
Like that's just not how it
Because not everybody's not like me and you, where like if I was at a different point in my life, working 80 hours a week, if I wasn't salaried, getting time and a half or whatever it is, like, frick yeah, like, I'll work 80 hours. I don't got anything else going on. It prevents me from going to the bar, you know, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But not everybody's like that.
Right.
Or not everybody's in that situation in their life where they can do that.
Right.
So.
And, you know, to keep my store open, I had to work that.
Yeah.
And then they had to shorten hours because it was only me and one other employee. And then they wanted me to, I could go down a whole rabbit hole.
No,
so but, you know, and then in the pharmacy side of things, you have pharmacists and you have to start giving COVID shots. So not only, you know, do we do flu, influenza, or influenza, flu, same thing. But we have a handful of shots that they could give at, you know, if someone's traveling and they need shots, instead of doing an actual appointment with the clinic, they could get them with us
pharmacy,
at the pharmacy. And, you know, so then we started giving the COVID shots, and I became certified to give the shots. As a store manager, you have to be pharmacy tech certified.
Okay.
So I was certified to go back there and fill scripts. I was back there all the time filling scripts.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the shots, and then you have the pharmacist or whoever's certified can give the shots. But like there's an appointment like can be like every 5 minutes. And then we started giving COVID shots to 5-year-olds as young as 3 to 5. It was around there.
Okay.
And then that was difficult for me as a caregiver.
Yeah.
You know, taking the politics out of it on what I felt about the COVID shot in the first place.
Yep.
You know, that was beside the point, right? You're taking a child who comes into Walgreens to grab a toy and a script and a pop and go out to the car, and then now they're coming in and having to get shoved into this room and have this person they've never seen in their life try and convince them and get them to be calm enough to take a shot, to like run out the room in 2.2 seconds. We had a teenager that had an adverse reaction. I had to call 911 and have her be taken by ambulance because of a COVID shot. And just the scare tactics was so hard for me. And I don't have kids that young.
Yeah.
During COVID. Like I cannot put myself in their shoes. I can imagine what I would, but that doesn't matter.
Right.
The reality is I didn't have a 7-year-old during COVID. Yeah. Right. So I don't know how
you would have reacted.
I would have reacted.
Yeah.
You know, but it was hard to hear the talk to convince them to be okay with being at a Walgreens.
Right.
And get a shot.
Right. Because before it was coming to Walgreens, it was a fun thing.
Right.
And now you're coming here
or just whatever. It's not the platform for it.
Yeah.
It is. Walgreens is not, in my opinion, set up to give COVID shots or shots, period, to kids that young. Yeah. And, you know, and then there's a lot more fear behind it, right? So there's less parents like backing up and going, okay, well, I'll just, like if it's the flu shot, sometimes the parents would be like, okay, you know, they're really fearful. We can't get them. We'll just make an appointment with the clinic. Like that's kind of the default, and it wasn't the end of the world. Right. But you have them being like, well, I don't know when I'm going to get into the clinic, and I don't want my child to die from COVID. Yeah. You know, and then you have all this fear, and that fear being instilled into the kids. And I'm just like, it just became a whole basket full of like, I'm working 80 hours a week. My hours are cut. I don't have staff. I'm not getting stuff done. Yeah. I'm, you know, having to put coloring books and coloring crayons and stuff out there for the kids waiting to get their COVID shots. And it just was like just this hot mess, you know, and because I was working so much, I wasn't going to church. Yep. You know, I wasn't, and, you know, that was bothering me. And my son, I had talked to, I wanted to change. Yeah. And I almost moved to North Carolina. Jeez. And, well, my daughter was there. Yeah. My daughter, Shayna, and her husband, Devin, and my grandson, Max. And I'm like, I could step down with Walgreens and become a pharmacy tech. Right. You know, because I'm certified. Yep. You know, I'd make good enough money. I could sell my house. I could move to North Carolina, stay with her long enough for me just to find another place.
Yep.
And I could be a pharmacy tech and live out my life.
Yep.
The cost of living is cheaper there. I could be around my grandson, like, and my daughter and all that.
Yep.
Like, it was just.
So is that like when Tyler came out to your house to do your initial appointment?
Yes. So I had called Tyler because I knew him
from Walgreens.
And he was my person I would go to for my real estate stuff. So I did. I called him. I said, hey, I don't know if I'm going to sell my house. I just need to know what it looks like for me to sell my house. And he was like totally on board, and he came over, and, you know, we started talking a little bit more about like why, you know, and I had talked to him. I had ran into him once after he left Walgreens. Yeah. You know, he was in Egret once, you know, buying batteries or something like that. And I ran into him, and I kind of inquired about, it's something I'd always kind of wanted to do. Become an agent. Right. So I kind of said something. He was just like, yeah, you know, you ever want to talk? But it was, you know, was what it was, you know. And at the time, I just wasn't where I could. Like, I needed to make sure I had an income. Right. Every 2 weeks. I was, you know, single mom with my kids. And then I ran into him again, and he was still with Edina at, I forget what restaurant we were at. But anyway, I ran into him then, and I inquired a little bit more. He's just like, hey, you know, give my dad a call. Yeah. You know, so he kind of, and I'm like, all right, you know, well, and again, it just wasn't taking the plunge, right? Yeah. And, well, this time I'm like, all my kids are adults. They've all graduated high school. Jake's in the Marines. Yep. And, you know, Alex is old enough to where, like, he could come with me wherever I go.
Or he could stay here.
Right, exactly. So, you know, I just needed change. But anyway, so we started talking about real estate again. He's just like, you know, you've talked to me before about that. Yeah. He goes, you know, have you ever thought of that? I'm just like, you know, I don't know, like that's scary. Kind of scary. Yeah, it absolutely was. But the more and more he talked, and then he left, and a couple weeks later he came and did the CMA too. And then we talked even more, and I was like, okay, like, and I even more so, like, more and more you kind of have that out. Yeah. Right. But it was scary. It was very, very scary. Yeah. Because it was like, do I keep my house? Do I sell it and use that money as a buffer? But then I'm losing, you know, my investment that I have going on, and I had quite a bit of equity, but I was figuring that out too. And I was such on the fence. And Alex, my son Alex, was home the second time Tyler came over. Yeah. And, you know, he heard Tyler talk about how, you know, he'd be supportive and all these things. Yeah. You know, talk more about the team. And he said, he goes, I'm not saying you have to be on my team. He goes, but just like you need help or support, like, you know, interview other brokers and whatnot. But I knew and I liked and I trusted him. Yep. Right. So, yeah. So I was really on the fence. And one day I'd come home and it was just a really bad day. And my son just looked at me. He's like, Mom, this has got to stop. And to have your 20-year-old son look at you and tell you that the hours that you were working, the days that you were working, like I had 33 days in a row that were at least 11-hour days on my feet. Not that to say on my feet is any different, but just like running around, like, right?
It is.
And he got mad. Yeah. You know, he's like, this is, and he worked for Walgreens. Right. You know, he's just like, this has got to stop. Yeah. He's like, no. Yeah. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do, Alex? Yeah. You know, I just kind of was like, I need to pay my bills. I don't want to go backwards. Yeah. Like, my family helped me for so long when my kids were young and I was a single mom. I was finally at a place where
you were doing it on
I was doing it on my own for the most part. Like 99% I was able to make all my bills, and you know, I didn't want to go backwards. Yeah. You know, I worked so hard to get where I was at. That that was very scary. And not only that, to like ask my family to potentially help me again. Yeah. Like that was the toughest. Like putting myself in a position like, oh, I'm just going to quit my Walgreens job and I'm just going to become an agent. And hey, I know you got me. Like, that was scary. That was tough. Yeah. It even like makes me want to tear up right now because they have been there for me. Totally. You know, but it was definitely something I didn't want. Like, I didn't want that, you know? And he looked at me and he says, Mom, he goes, if you turn away from anything that is keeping you from God, God has got you. And I'm sure I've told you that before, but And it was in that moment that I knew I had to just trust.
Yeah.
I had to go, is this what I'm doing anything of what God would want me to be doing?
No.
And I 100% was able to say no.
Yeah.
This is not God's plan for me.
Yeah.
His plan is not for me to work 80 hours a week and not go to church and, go through that stress and not be able to spend quality time with my family. And has that still been a struggle the last couple of years? Yeah. But at least I have a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I'm working towards a light at the end of the tunnel. Whereas I feel like that light wasn't really there for me with Walgreens.
Yeah.
You know? And so I knew I just needed to trust. And it was at that moment right there that I went, you are correct. And I decided to take the plunge.
I remember because Tyler was like, because that's back when I was still doing transaction stuff a lot of the time. And so I was like, do you need like paperwork and stuff? Or like, what are you doing? He's like, no, she's going to become an agent. And I was like, okay. Wait, so you did appointments with her, but she's going to be an agent? He's like, yeah. And I was like, okay. All right. And I was like,
yep.
So she's selling her house herself? And he's like, probably not. And I was like, all right.
Is she going to what?
Sell her house herself.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
no.
I was like, whatever you need, dude. Like, I'm going to keep going, but we'll talk about that later.
Yep. Yeah. And I had a conversation with my brother.
Yeah.
Afterwards. And, he's owns his own businesses and whatnot, so I did have that conversation with him, and he was like, he was on board, but he's like, I'm not on board with you selling your house.
Right.
He goes,
keep your house
and have that be a driver.
Yeah.
To help you hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And it definitely has been a helper to,
right.
Hit the ground running, because I don't want to lose my house, and
can't be a homeless realtor. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I could, but that wouldn't,
live out of your mobile office.
Yeah. And, and I got advice, interview a bunch of brokerages and whatnot. But at that time, especially at that time,
right,
I didn't care about the brokerage.
Yeah.
I cared that I was going to be aligned with someone that I knew cared that I was successful.
Yep.
And then after being with EXP and learning their model, it definitely has, I'm like, thank God. Like,
you're with the team.
I just, with the team and with EXP.
Yeah.
That I feel like it was all perfectly, divinely made.
Because how long were we on the team, or like at EXP, before you came over?
So I quit my job in November, and I stayed on, and because I was going to try and just help them out.
November of 21?
21.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys had just, I think, in October.
Yeah, it was like September.
Okay.
September we moved. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, you had brand new.
So we were still all figuring it out together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So then my last day, I want to say, was December 4th with Walgreens.
Yep.
And then I just kicked ass and
jumped right in.
Started the classes, and I took out a home equity loan.
Yeah, I remember
on my house so that I could pay off some card bills, pay off my car. I was trying to say card and cards at the same time. Paid off my car, paid off some credit cards.
Yep.
Got my, my bills down, and then I had a little bit to live off of until my first deal, and
you've been running it since.
Yeah.
And I think, if anything, like your first 30 days, I mean, I know like some of it was the end of December, but your first month in the 2024 is proving that you made the right choice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I consider March 1st being my
start date. So March 1st, 2022.
2022.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
yep.
This March, you'll consider it your 2 year.
2 year.
Yeah.
Yep, on March 1st. Because my actual license, I want to say, came like February 15th. Or around there.
Yeah.
Or I completed it, whatever. But then the last week of February, I went to go visit my son Joseph and his wife Nikki and my grandsons. So I flew back in March 1st.
Okay.
March 1st or March 2nd, but either way, it doesn't matter. That's when I went, okay.
Now I'm starting.
I've got my license. I've gone on my little vacation and visited family, and now I'm going. So So yeah.
March. You literally like segued into every other question I had like perfectly on your own.
Okay.
You're so great. I'm like, when am I going to ask this question? And how am I, like, in my brain, I'm like, funny. How am I going to field this? And then you just, like, segued into it on your own. And I'm like, she's reading my mind. Well, we're glad to have you. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. You add a different dynamic to the team. I mean, like, I do call you, like, the mom of the team. Sometimes I call you the grandma of the team.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's okay. You know it.
I have to, at times, force my Annessa, do not say anything.
Right. Don't be a mom.
Don't be a mom. Don't be a mom.
But then you will come out. You'll come out with like your phone and like you're in the middle of a text or something. You'll be like, well, if I was your mother, I would tell you. And I'm like, oh, here comes Annessa. But it's funny.
Yeah. It was funny. I was overhearing Max.
Many?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the phone with someone, and I was like, in the other room, and when he got off the phone, I like went in there and I'm like asked a couple questions, clarifying questions to like, because he was struggling with something or trying to figure something out.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, you know, blah 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 blah, you know, and then I and he's like, oh, okay, you know, and he's like, that's a good idea. We like threw a couple things out there, and then I'm like, I try not to mom you. And he's like, well, sometimes we have to. We need to hear that, you know? So it was just cute how he's like, it's okay. Sometimes we need it. So
they're really good. Like everybody, like if you hear somebody on the phone, like having like a weird conversation or something, like bop in and tell them like, hey, don't do that. Do this. Or I would do this instead. Like, I think that's how we all help each other grow.
Yeah. And it was a personal thing. It wasn't a work thing. So it was a personal thing. That's why it's like those personal work things. I don't have a problem with like, hey, because that's a whole you know, but like when it comes to the personal things, that's where I have to have a line, because I could easily become the mom. Yep. Like it just is in my nature. It's what I do.
Yep.
I mean, I want to say, so Shayna is 35 and Jake is 22.
Yeah.
So really anyone under the age of 35. Okay. Right. So
thanks, Mom.
Like I have to, like I said, I kind of force myself. I'm like, just stay.
But even Tyler's teetering on that. Like you could mom Tyler. Mm-hmm. No, I'm just kidding. No.
No, won't mom Tyler. But no, I really do enjoy being on the team, and
it's fun.
I don't mind being the oldest one. It's okay.
I'm trying to remember. I was talking with 2 of our new agents, and I can't remember if they said you were older or not. I think you are older than them, but not by much. I couldn't remember.
That are joining the team?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll talk to you about it later.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I was like, are you guys older or no?
I'm going to be 50 in February.
My mom is going to be 52 this year.
See?
I
would have been a very, very young mom.
My mom was 21.
Yeah.
And my grandma was 18 when she had my mom. Okay.
So. How old do you, I won't ask you.
My grandma?
No, I was going to ask how old you are.
I'm 30.
You are 30. Okay.
Yeah, I turned 30 this year.
Okay, because I'm like, okay.
I'll be 31 this year.
All right. Because when you said your mom was 21, she had you, I know Shayna's mom, her mom started fairly young.
Yeah.
And I think she's only a year older than me.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I mean, my mom had me when she was 21.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I was 15 days before my 23rd birthday when I had my first baby. First biological baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun. Well, thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
Thanks for taking the time
for having me.
We'll have you on again.
Excited.
Okay, good.
I took a really, really cold shower this morning. I started to do that. It's only the second one.
See, I have a hard time getting out of the shower right now because it's so nice and warm in there.
No.
You and Max should like cold tub together or something. He does that.
I don't know. I think I'd rather shower because I just keep going around in a circle, so I don't get quote unquote used. If I stand still, I can easily get used to it. So I feel like if I plunge, like I would just get used to it and just sit there.
It's good for you though.
So I know.
I don't want to do it.
It has been mentally, it's like you get out and you're just ready for the day. Like, because you have to mentally, like as you're doing it, you mentally tell yourself that you've got this.
Yeah.
Like you can do this. Like it's not the end of the world. Like it's,
yeah.
So mentally it is very, very, it challenges you and it pushes you. It's not just like, hey, let's put cold water on our body.
Right.
Because it has so many health benefits.
Right.
But even mentally.
Yeah.
Is part of the reason why I'm doing it.
You should do it.
Is to just, so I took my shower.
Yeah.
And then
you turn it cold.
And then I turn it a little bit cold and get a little bit used to it. And then I crank it. And then this morning I had music on.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it for this song. But then I sang to the song.
And it's not so bad.
And kind of ignored a little bit. But then I forced myself. I'm like, okay, having the song on, I'm also forcing myself to ignore what is really happening, right? So then I stopped and I'm like, okay, I'm done singing.
Yeah.
But I did it for the full song.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I don't allow myself to grab my towel until after I have breathed and I'm calm and not shivering.
Oh.
And then I'm still a little bit shivering, but I'm calm.
Yeah.
Like,
not like
uncontrollable. Okay,
yeah.
I just give me my towel right now. I'm like, nope, I'm going to breathe through it and become calm. And then once I'm calm, I'll grab my towel.
See, the showers I take are like boil your skin off showers. Yeah. Like
that's me typically.
Like Satan.
You come out looking like a red lobster.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Or like I open the bathroom door and it's a plume of steam, even though the steam in the shower or the vent fan is going. Like, yep, no.
Yeah. That used to be me.
I love it. Mm-hmm. It just
I still love really, really warm, but I don't do it that hot.
But then I like open the curtain to get out and I'm like, oh, why is it so cold in here?
Yeah.
But, I should try it. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. We'll have you again soon.
You.
I mean, I don't know when soon, but soon.
Whatever.
Okay.
I love it. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks everybody for tuning in and we'll see you in a few weeks. Bye.